this video, I'd like to show you the new Workflows tool in inTakt. You'll find Workflows in Reports. On the far left, underneath the logo, there's a drop-down where you can see your different reports, and Workflows is one of them there. To create a new workflow, you can press the New Workflow button in the middle here, or there's an Add button up the top. And you can create multiple workflows. First, you'll get a screen that's very similar to the Takt settings. And this is where you set up the basic structure of your workflow. I'm going to call this workflow Procurement. And then we kind of have 3 steps we need to go through. The first one is to create your sections. You can create these kind of manually here. You can copy from another project, or you can import them. You can import a CSV with your own sections, or you can just select the default. I'm just going to do that. And then they populate on the side here. And sections will make more sense when we show our workflow in the schedule. But for now, we'll just leave them like that. And then I'm going to create my tasks. Tasks are the steps of the workflow. I'm just going to add a few simple tasks here. And you'll see that each one has a color and a duration in days. And these tasks will display in the workflow log, but they'll also display as tasks in the schedule. And they can be treated as regular tasks. Here I've got my basic flow for my procurement workflow. I'm just going to quickly set up some colors on these, and then I will set up the durations. I'll just give this one a couple extra days, give that a few less, and you can also type directly in the field there. I have my sections, and then I have my tasks, and then we have the dates and holidays. And this is the same as the Takt settings. You can define the work week that applies to the tasks, and you can add holidays. I'm just going to skip this for now, and I'm going to hit Create Workflow down the bottom here. And so what we've got now is we have a log created. So I'm just going to click away from that for a second. You can scroll horizontally using the scroll bar at the bottom, or you can click and drag on the header here. So you can see that all of our tasks are along the top here. And then we have some information here around the items that will be flowing through these tasks. So I'm going to add an item manually first. I'm just going to add metal studs. I'm going to click Tab, and then I'm across in my sections. And this is where we choose the section that we created earlier. I'm going to start typing, and I'm going to select metals there. Hit enter, and then we have our first item created. We can continue to add these manually if you want to. You can also copy from another project or another workflow, or you can import them, and I'm going to do this. So when you import, you can download a sample CSV template that you can fill out. Then you just select that file, and you can import it, and it will be kind of populated here. Now we have kind of a small log created. We have our different items here, and they each have a section applied to them. And if I just jump over to the schedule quickly, let me just hide the block line for a second. You'll see that when a workflow is displayed in the schedule, the section is displayed as an area, and the item description is displayed as a zone, and then the individual tasks are displayed as tasks. You can see here the first one we created, metal studs is in metals, and then these are the steps that the item will go through. And by default, when you create new items, they are, let me just turn the lock line back on, they are bunched up against the lock line. In this case, it's the start of the project, because I haven't actually locked the lock line. And now I'm just going to jump back to reports. Here we have our log. So we have our tasks, or our items descriptions. We can also add comments to these. So I'm just going to add a small comment to my metal studs description here. This just lets you keep the description concise while you can add extra information there. And then you'll see that we have certain dates here. So we have the need by date, the start date, which we said it's either the lock line, or in this case the start of the project, because we haven't locked the lock line. And then we have kind of dates and durations for our various steps. And the need by date is the start date plus the duration of every step or task here. You see that we started on January 5, which was a couple of days ago, so we're a couple of days late. And then if we add the 5 days from contracts, and then the 7 days from submittals and so on, you'll eventually get the planned finish, which is the need by date. But this isn't so useful just in isolation. What we need to do next is we need to link our workflow steps, our workflow tasks, I should say, to our construction tasks. And that's done using this column here. We'll start with the metal studs one. If I click link in schedule, it's going to take me to the schedule here, and it's going to have the last task of the metal studs selected. That's a buffer. We just kind of added a buffer there. What we want to do is we want to link this to our layout and framing task. So I'm going to select layout and framing. I'm going to go to plan. I'm going to go edit links, and I'm going to select that buffer task. Then when I save the link, you'll see that the construction task is now the successor of the procurement item here. And I'm going to go through and just do the same for these other ones. We have a plumbing one here, so I'm going to select that as the predecessor. We have a couple electrical ones, which I will do the same. And then the last two, I'll link like this. And you can see as we created these links, the log rearranged itself by order of what's needed earliest. And so now you can see that my procurement items here are linked to my construction tasks. If I jump back into reports, you can see that the start dates now reflect all of the links that we just created in the schedule. The metal studs are still a bit late, these are due soon, and these ones are off in the future. And that's the basic functionality of how to create a workflow. If you ever want to edit any of, say you want to edit the sections or anything, you can click the gear icon up here on the procurement and go to workflow settings. You can also double click and kind of rename stuff. You can also create multiple workflows. So if I press the add button, I can just create a second workflow here. I'll just call it second, just add some temporary data there, and you can see that we have a second workflow. I'll just delete that quickly. The next step is to status the tasks in the workflow. The first thing you want to do is when a item is started, you can check the started box here. And that will just say that the item was started on January 6th. You can also do all of this stuff in the actual schedule as well, which I'll show you in a bit. And then once an item has been completed, you can do the same. You can check it as completed. I'm just going to go through and just going to check a few of these off. When I jump back into the schedule here, you'll notice that they're kind of grayed out like completed construction tasks. And when you select a workflow task and then select the track tab, you'll see that you can also complete and start in the actual schedule. There's one more way of statusing tasks, and that's using the lock line. So if I kind of drag the lock line to here, and then I lock the lock line, and then I navigate back into reports, you'll see that everything that's kind of grayed out is locked behind the lock line. And anything that hadn't been manually marked as either completed or started will just have unverified written next to it. And then it's up to you, the user, to go in later and to kind of check those as verified. And that's the basic functionality of how to create and then status a workflow. Thank you.